All right, time to put a little commentary on this past week's race. So here we are at Kyalami for two sprint races. This is the qualifying lap. This is round 4. The first 3 rounds, I have literally messed up my race on lap 1 every single time. Sometimes my fault, sometimes just getting caught up in an accident. Um, so between the last 2 weeks after round 3, um, all the practice I did a couple laps to get, you know, up to speed on Kyalami, but the majority of the practice that I did before this week's race was not necessarily hot lapping, not necessarily trying to find the fastest pace, but instead I just kept setting up 5-minute races against the AI. And I would just practice the opening lap over and over and over again. Just 5-minute race, 5-minute race, 5-minute race. Sometimes I always started from the middle of the pack so that I would have to deal with traffic. I set the AI's aggression super high, and sometimes started from an even number position like 6, so that I would be on the outside as I started. Sometimes I would be an odd number like 7 or 5, so that I would be on the inside. Um, and this really, I feel like, helped me this week to get a good lap 1, to stay clean through lap 1. I wasn't trying to gain any positions, but just trying to avoid mistakes, because every week so far it's felt like I've had my race ruined on lap 1. So that was the big goal going into this week, was just stay clean during the first lap of each race. So you can see there that we qualified um, towards the front. And here we go, lap 1. Let's see how all that practice paid off, or whether it paid off here for the first lap of the first sprint. So you can see we're starting from the outside, and having done all these practice laps, I now knew what to expect with some aggressive AI, or in this case, aggressive human opponents. I knew where the runoff was, so I got bumped there. But I do believe that with all that practice, I knew that I could take that runoff and I didn't have to fight to stay onto the track. And having just done that practice repeatedly, I knew exactly what corners I could take some extra runoff and be safe. So I may have lost a position or two right there, but I avoided any major mistakes and I avoided taking a lot of damage. And so, as you can see here, through the first few corners, I'm able to survive. That practice that I've been referencing definitely cost me a lot of safety rating, because in Assetto Corsa Competizione, the safety rating goes down even if you're doing just a race against the AI, and so I continually got bumped by the AI, and it kind of destroyed my safety rating, but that's okay. In the long run, I think it will be helpful. Come on, tires, get up to freaking pressure.
I know, right?
And so you can see here now we are coming towards the end of the first lap, and I am very, very excited to kind of have a little gap in front of me, a little gap behind me, and to know at this point in the race, like, that I survived the first lap, which had been my Achilles heel up to this point.
Hey, here we go.
All downhill from there.
So now we finished the first lap. We started 6th, I believe, and we are now in 7th place. So only lost 1 position, avoided any big mistakes. So couldn't be happier there. As the race kind of continued over the next 5 minutes, Dad's taxi was getting close up behind me in the Bentley.
Gotcha.
A little bit of traffic there as Ice was giving a position back to JD in the Ferrari. And so now we are caught up in a little bit of traffic, so let's see what happens here. We did overtake Ice as he was given that position back. Feel a little bit bad about that because he was just trying to be nice, and we kind of took advantage of that. probably should have given him the space to stay just behind JD, but then I don't know, Dad's taxi behind me might have, it would have been tricky to slow down right there to let ice sneak in. So anyways, we're getting caught up in a little bit of traffic. The Bentley behind me is definitely feeling faster.
Seems like that Bentley's better on the
I
brakes
normally
than I
don't
am.
notice big balance of performance differences on most tracks, and then JD goes off there to the left. I normally don't notice big balance of performance
Oh,
differences
yeah, that's what the
on
lime's
different
for.
tracks, but
We're out
Kyalami,
here
the
trying to
McLaren,
mesmerize you.
felt so bad on the brakes, especially in comparison to the drivers in the BMWs, even the Bentley behind me, which is ironic because those are such big cars. But everybody that was not
terrible.
in a McLaren was braking a good 50 feet later on the track, which definitely made it
Mesmerized by
tricky,
the line
which you'll
taxi.
see especially in race 2. You'll see an example of that.
Father taxi.
But the braking performance was so drastically different on this track, and I hadn't felt that
Daddy.
at such a high level
Daddy.
difference on any of the other tracks. Another thing I did for the first opening laps was crank up the TC, so that's something I'm going to keep doing as the tire pressures are a little bit lower on the first lap. So you can see that Dad's taxi and Ice behind me are probably feeling like a little bit faster than me. I'm kind of keeping one eye on the mirrors, making sure that I'm not blocking them or making sure that I don't make any contact with them. Again, the braking performance being a big noticeable difference. But couldn't be happier to be 4 laps
Man, I'm
in and
deep
be
there
sitting there
every
in 5th
time.
place after
Come on.
the horrendously bad starts previously. And there you can see the braking difference as
Oh, you're
Dad's
good,
taxi flies up into my rearview mirror. Just the McLaren had to brake so much earlier.
I really think the
and
McLaren just sucks on
I
the
felt
brakes.
like it was maybe kind of frustrating some of the other drivers because they were not anticipating me braking at the points that I was braking at. And it
Oh,
wasn't
you're
just
gonna
me, it
go
was
there,
the other McLarens as well. So I make a mistake, go off there, definitely slowing down. I recognize that the Bentley is going to make a run through there, so I give him space.
There you go. Now
And
you're
I think
through.
he kind of went a little bit wide, nudged me there, but it's all good. So the Bentley and BMW are through, which was
I'm
going to
done
be
holding you up now.
inevitable anyways because their pace just seemed a little bit faster. And once I made that mistake, it was inevitable for them to pass. So now we're hanging out behind Ice in the BMW, and he's going to pull away over time. And then also I'm going to dive into the pits. Alright, so as we come out of the pits, I really must not have been up to I really must not have been up to a good pace on this track because I come out of the pits without making really any horrendous mistakes, and I come out in 8th place. So that means at least 3 people pass me, or 3 people who had pitted earlier just had better pace than I did and were able to pass me. So we're sitting here in 7th place. I believe we got Skunko Bunny coming behind us to have a little battle here to end the race. Lime teammate there. Somehow me and Skunko Bunny are always kind of around the same pace, which is pretty fun.
Oh, oh, oh. Oh my
Don't
gosh.
do that.
Didn't love that. Did not.
Don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Did not love anything about that. Let's turn that TC up one notch.
Hey Jack, you didn't pit.
Yeah, I did. Don't give me that crap, Thomas.
So definitely am trying to hold on to 7th place. Making a few mistakes.
That's all I got.
Hey,
Maybe
it's a
looking in my
pretty fair
mirrors a
move.
little too much.
I saw that skunk go. Was that me breaking early?
I just clenched so tight.
I swear, I think I'm breaking early for everybody.
No, you're not.
Well,
And
broke
we
late.
completely miss our breaking point right there. Skunko Bunny
I didn't have the
goes
downforce
past.
that I thought I should have.
Clean pass there.
Bitch.
As I just 100% missed my breaking point. Skunko Bunny takes a
Nah,
good
you did.
defensive line there on the inside.
You had a good run
Really,
out
really
there.
nice work there. We come down to the final couple corners. And Skunko Bunny feels bad about passing me on a mistake that I made. So he actually, you'll see here in a second. Or maybe it's the next lap actually.
Silent, are you on
Alright, now we're on the final lap.
Yeah, we are.
So now I'm in 8th place on the final lap. Yeah, and that mistake was 100% me just braking too late,
Oh, I know
feeling the
what I was
pressure
doing
from
wrong there.
behind, and then he made a very clean pass.
Is the track 10 gonna be
I'm
the
noticing on the
It's
right
the same
with
time,
the
so it
brake
should
and the
be
throttle
relatively close at
inputs,
least.
I'm noticing that I was in the traction control, leaning on the traction control more on this track than I normally do.
How much you
You
good?
can see there even
On the left?
the throttle turning yellow.
I just didn't want to do
Just
it.
on a simple corner like that, the throttle was yellow almost the whole way through the corner. So
Ooh,
definitely, I don't know if the setup
did a little
that
bit
I
of
had
car
just
watching
didn't
there
have a
and
lot of
almost-
grip, but we were in the traction control
Holy shit.
way
Good
more
job,
than normal.
Way to go.
Yeah. God damn. Tell you what.
And maybe I just had the traction control set a little too high. But either way, we kept a fairly clean race. Not the fastest pace,
Nice.
but with all the issues that I've had early in this season with TRC of just crashing on lap 1, I am more than happy to take home an 8th place finish.
Bunny, where'd it go, buddy?
And then, this is where around this turn,
Man.
Skunko goes and slams on the brakes because he didn't want
Why'd
to.
you?
He
What the
didn't
heck?
want to take the position on a mistake that I made, which I think is a little bit funny because I thought his pass was way more than fair. So in
Why'd you do
reality,
that,
I say
Stu?
that I finished 8th place there. Skunko finished 7th because he put pressure on me. I made a mistake, and he made a clean pass. So I call that an 8th place finish, not a 7th place finish.
You know, I'm gonna change that in the standings.
But either way, that leads us into race 2. So finishing 8th place after a clean race is a good finish. Finishing in the top half, definitely expected to be a little bit higher on a race where I didn't make any mistakes, but I just did not feel fast at Kyalami. Anyways, qualifying lap for race 2. I think I qualify a little bit better here, hit some of my points a little bit better, so I'll just let you watch this qualifying lap.
Good run, Tax. I'm good, though. Yeah, that last part there, I just fucked up enough to lose.
Also, for some reason, I usually try to turn the hands off because if I can see my own hands in front of me, it's a little weird to see the digital hands in front of me. But for some reason, every now and then, the hands just like magically pop back up on the screen. So that's what happened here during this qualifying lap.
5-minute break, Jack.
Yep. 5-minute break.
All right.
Hold on, guys. Hold on to it. Got this.
Can y'all tell if that? Well, I guess y'all may know. Do y'all know if that saves?
All right,
the time
feeling
dugout?
fairly fast as we come around
I
this
think it
last
does.
corner,
Okay.
and we don't invalidate the lap, so that's perfect. And we qualify 5th. Skunkle in 4th actually disconnected and had to start from the
Ooh,
pits,
Iceman
which
got the
obviously
pole that
sucks
time.
for
Nice.
him. But that means we started here from the 4th place grid position. So we're going to see how this start goes again. Been practicing. This is what I've been practicing all week, preparing for this situation. And as you can see on the little heli Corsa thing, some cars are starting to make some moves. And to try to stay clean, use the runoff, staying clean.
Definitely.
And that definitely had me dropping some positions as AZ and some other people. And then Dad's taxi comes flying through. Black Ferrari comes flying through. So
What just happened?
I lost a lot of positions on that start.
Before Mikey.
As you know, some people made some aggressive moves and moved forward in their positions, and then I also intentionally went wide to stay safe. So we dropped down to 6th place,
man.
it says, if that's correct. Sometimes there's position glitches on the first lap. But we kept it clean, and that's the most important. So we kept it clean. So as Ice makes a move on the inside, as I go wide. Yeah, so we are down into 7th place now.
Of course I know him. He's me.
Oh, that portion is fucking disconnected.
So started
that in my
4th and
review.
dropped all the way to 7th. Or is it 8th?
Definitely saw that in my
I'm not
review.
even 100% sure at this point, but definitely lost. I think it's 7th. Definitely lost a lot of positions on that first lap by playing it safe, but it's a lot better doing that than losing your entire race on the first lap.
I just don't trust myself.
But in some ways in this race, you'll see there can be a benefit from starting from the back and just avoiding all the drama high up in the race. As you'll see, Skunkle, who had to start
Man,
from the
that
pits,
sucks.
was able to make some real progress without traffic and was able to make a little bit of a comeback. So I try to take the inside here, defensive line, but I get passed on the outside by another Ferrari.
Golly, you got this whole priest thing down.
I did click save replays because I'm very
So
curious.
now we're down into 8th place.
What happened there? That was
So not the
wild.
best start, but again, compared to the other weeks where on the first lap I would drop all the way down into last place, can't really complain.
Sometimes a clip is enough.
So this race, compared to the first race, which only had a little bit of action, this 25-minute race had a ton of action. I'm pretty much in traffic the whole time, which made it really fun. It also means that I didn't cut down or edit this race very much. So I dive here in the pits as I'm just nervous about losing too much time in traffic, and I come out of the pits there in 13th
really
place,
says something
and
about
look who
starting
we're
from the back
behind,
that you,
Skunkle, who
took an
also
early
has
pit and
already
were able
taken
to
a
pass
pit.
me.
So Skunkle
was-
started as I started in 4th and kind of struggled with traffic. Skunkle started from the pits, or maybe started last on the grid,
Jeez, what am I doing?
and having that kind of clear track,
did the same thing
maybe
you did.
taking an early pit stop and then having some clear track to work with, was able to make up so much ground that I came out of the pits behind him. So that definitely says something about the pace difference when you don't have traffic to deal with.
I want no let up from you, Stuart.
I don't know if I can do it, Coach.
I want nothing
And
but
as
your
we're
best.
in identical cars with almost the same setup on. It's clear that just the clear track made a big difference on pace. So sitting here in 13th
Oh,
place,
are you kidding me? Is that
hoping to
fucking
stay
fun?
clean and when some other people ahead of me take some pits, maybe we can make up ground.
So how do we always find each
Skunkle's
other?
not slowing me down at all here, so this is a pretty good situation to be in.
I got cold tires. I can't get to you.
The way I'm driving, you just might.
Dads, I just followed you.
You follow me, yeah?
Team orders. Both of you pull over.
I think in this race I had bumped my traction control up a lot
Sorry,
for the
Jack.
opening lap and then forgot to turn it
Nah,
down
dude. You're good.
because I meant to turn it back down to like 4 is about where I normally drive with it at. So you can see I'm like I said earlier, just every time I hit the throttle it turns bright yellow on the right side of the screen, meaning that we were
Keep
just
giving me
living
that
in that
toe.
traction control, probably losing a little bit of pace because the traction control was
Mikey?
kicking in earlier than it needed to.
Oh yeah, boy.
Iron Monkey, that's what I'm talking about.
You got a lot of limes ready to squeeze you, boy.
That's a whole lot of vitamin C, baby.
Losing
I just went off the
losing grip
Ain't
in the
nobody in this
turns
bitch gonna
and
screw me.
losing just a little bit of power from the engine because that traction control is just kicking in
That's what's
on
gonna
every
boost it.
single turn. Alright, so we're going to pass. Notice the BMW on the left as we pass them as they come out of the pits.
Good job, buddy.
So now we got a few people that
Pull the
we're
old
going to be
overcoat
racing
on you?
with
Yeah, oh yeah.
as well.
Baby Xavier.
I gotta keep it on track, keep it on track, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
I just. Oh my god.
No, Thomas.
Yep.
Distracted by the limes.
And we got a BMW in front there, which makes a mistake. Skunkle's able to get past. It looks like is going to make the pass. Yep, the BMW kind of backs out trying to be safe. And then I'm able to get through as
That
well.
was quick on that one.
So all good there.
That was scary.
Now we're up into 10th place.
JD had a bit of a moment in front of me and I tried to avoid.
2 top 10 finishes and 2 clean races would definitely be something that would go a long way helping me in the standings. Because I just need good, consistent scores.
I want to forget this whole fucking night.
I know I don't really have the pace to be finishing
But this one's gonna fuck up straight up.
super high every week, but if we can just be consistent.
Ah.
As I make a mistake there, probably get a cut track warning. And you're about to see the difference in braking performance in the BMW here. As I got a BMW behind me. I think
These
that's
BMWs
Savior.
scare me because they brake so much later.
I know.
They just.
And then watch here as I brake going into this turn, and then the BMW just brakes so
Neither
much
did the turn
later
signals.
Sorry, Xavier.
and is
That was
able to
me.
make the corner.
You had a
Definitely
good,
an
clean
aggressive move, but the move was made cleanly. And the BMW just so much later on the brakes, even though our lap times weren't drastically different throughout the lap, just being that much later on the brakes makes a pass like that possible and makes me defending a lot more difficult. I guess I could have gone,
What am I doing?
I could have been a little more towards the inside to make that pass more difficult. But I think when the other driver's braking 100 feet later
Oh,
than I am,
Stu!
Skunkle goes off, makes a mistake there on the left. When the
Oh,
other
you
driver's
hate to
braking
see
so much
it.
later than I am, there's only so much you can do defensively. And so now we're going to have a little battle with that BMW in front as Skunk will drop behind us. Maybe past a couple people in the pits, I'm not sure, but we're up into 9th place.
That's awesome.
It's impressive.
I saw
It is.
shows that in our standings.
Well, I mean, is it really even worth it?
Oh,
Alright, boys, I'm retiring.
Boo.
Oh, no, don't. Stop.
And then the next couple laps, Xavier's going to do a good job holding me off
It's fine.
by making that
You're gonna get
BMW
pissed
pretty
at me.
wide,
What'd you say?
doing a really good job with
So, we
defense.
anyway.
Make a mistake again. I've done that so many times during this race in
Alright,
that same
Jamie,
spot,
have
just
a good
pushing
night.
wide there.
Night, Thomas.
See you,
Bye, Tom.
I think just feeling
See
the
ya.
pressure of like all these other cars are braking so much later. So it's making me think like, man, maybe I'm making
Hot dog.
some kind of mistake. Maybe I need to be braking later there too. But every time I broke late,
Do it.
um,
Let her rip.
you could see what happened there.
He wasn't loving it tonight.
So let's chase down that Beamer.
Hey,
Yeah, every time you break, it slows me down so much, and then I get Darwin in the back. Oh!
Again, watching back this replay, I just keep watching that traction control light up yellow. And it kills me because I just
Keeping an eye on.
feel like I should have had the traction control set way lower, so the engine wouldn't be cutting power on every single turn.
Good thing you're so far away, fingers.
Definitely was something that was slowing me down. And maybe even with the braking performance, maybe my ABS was up too high as well. So something maybe to experiment with before next week's race at Zandvoort.
Somebody in the top 5 pit.
So the BMW is building a little gap ahead of me. Finally make that turn correctly.
yeah, top six is still a pit. Everyone from 7 down is cleared already.
Missed the apex there.
Uh-oh.
He's still here?
No, he's dropping like a fly. He's in mad time.
Wonder if Ice got disconnected. He was in the wall.
And a couple of people disconnected during this race, which is really a super bummer. And we try to add
He may have got punctured
some
or
points
something.
back
He
in the
was behind
standings
me.
for those that
He was
disconnect.
behind me.
It seems to only be happening in the second race
First corner,
of
I'm
our
pretty sure.
double sprints. So maybe moving forward we will reset the lobby between races each time to avoid that happening in the future.
Sound like a pig in church.
Taxi, what happened to you?
Darwin hit me. He didn't even stop, he just went through.
Alright, so now we're finally making a little bit of progress on the BMW in front of us. As he makes a mistake, and we start to think, oh, maybe here's an opportunity to get around. But he comes inside, has a good defensive line. So we're not able to make the pass there just yet. And he makes a mistake again, and because of where his car was positioned, my only option was to go onto the grass to avoid contact. So that was a great opportunity to pass, but because I was on the inside and his car was moving to the inside, the only thing I could do was to go onto the grass to avoid a crash. While it would have been nice to pass Xavier there, it's also better for me to like not make a terrible mistake. So Xavier seems to be losing his tires there, and I'm kind of at this point where I'm getting a little nervous
Ooh, that was
about being
dangerously
able to
close
pass
that
cleanly.
sausage.
That was beautiful. Perfect.
As Xavier's kind of sliding left and right. And he even mentioned later saying that he was losing his tires and losing grip. So we're up into 7th place as we pass the pit box there, which would be a really nice finish, especially if we're able to pass Xavier and get up into 6th place. That would be great. So let's see what happens. Another mistake there, and we get a little bit of a better run out. Xavier lines up the inside, then moves out wide. Oh, and we get the better run out there. And we move to the inside. Cut back. But we're not quite able to get past there. So almost make the move there through kind of a tough section to make a pass. That fast left and right would have been a really difficult section to make a pass. As we come onto the straight, that BMW has so much power and is pulling away.
I thought you had me back there.
Yeah.
Off the jack.
And
Oh, no.
That's a really wide BMW.
I completely missed the turn again, but let's just go ahead and take a cut track warning. Why not? That's one of those common corners that I just kept making a mistake all night. And then Xavier finally
There it
goes
goes.
wide there. And we, I think, are going to be through. Looks like we're through, but remember, this is where Xavier passed me the first time by being so late on the brakes. So there's a good chance. So I'm staying inside. And I think he did not expect the McLaren to brake so early. And almost rear ends me, but he takes evasive action and goes wide. But in the McLaren, that's all I can do is that's where I had to brake. So I went inside to take a defensive line, hit my braking point. The BMW just brakes so much later. He was not expecting me to brake there, and almost rear-ended me, but I think he goes off the track, so he took the worst of it there.
A BMW,
So
BMW
definitely,
bogey.
apologies for the early braking, but that's where I had to brake for my car.
Got crowds on my 6.
So now we're up into 6th place, though, with 5 minutes left. And once again, we got Skunko Bunny behind us, and we got AZ behind us as well. AZ in the BMW, I know, has really, really good pace. And he's typically up towards the front, one of the faster guys. So I'm definitely thinking with 5 minutes, maybe we can hold him off. But again, the late braking from the BMW is just going to be really, really difficult to deal with, especially on this upcoming corner. And so I see him behind me. I know he can brake later, so I kind of stay a little bit to the inside to force him if he's going to make a move on the outside. He's right there all over my mirrors. And He makes some space there, forces his way through, and makes a clean pass there. I tried to give him as much space as I could because I knew once he was sticking his nose in that there's nothing I could do there. So I tried to give him all the space he needed. Because again, we're still going to get a good finish out of this race. There's no reason to spend the next 3 minutes trying to defend against a pass that, with how good the BMWs seem at this track,
Yeah,
I just knew I
BMW
had no
really plays
chance.
defense of this track, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
So
Yep.
no reason
I've
to
noticed-
keep defending and
I've noticed it at this track more than anyone that we've done.
put my race at risk
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that.
by causing contact, by
Like,
being
I'm
too
feeling
aggressive
right now, so I'm
defensively.
not
So just give him some
100%,
space,
still,
let him through,
It's too easy.
and be happy with where we finish.
Is Lewis Hamilton on here?
Lewis Hamilton?
Lewis Hamilton?
You mean
Alright, so now we're coming towards the end of the race, and that's 2 straight races, a sprint weekend, where I kept it completely clean outside of maybe a couple nudges, a couple bumps, which I would say none of those were necessarily my fault. Other than those light taps, we never really spun out. We never really, which in practice, there was actually a couple corners where I spun out a few times on the lower gear corners. So we never really had any major mistakes, and
No, it says there's in like 7 heavy.
yeah, just feeling really excited about getting back to the old consistency that I had last season, because I think consistency makes a big difference in the standings. So I think we're going to get a 6th place finish as well as an 8th place finish for this double sprint weekend, which is better than some of the past weeks where I've gotten a 3rd place finish and then a 18th place finish or something like that, right?
both of those guys are?
Make that 15 seconds up the road. Well, there's some redemption for that first race.
It was a double win for Silent Guy, who had been having some disconnection issues and that sort of thing. So here to try to be funny, I go to the inside because Skunkle gave me the position at the end of last race, and I tried to slow down, but he knew what I was doing, so he also slowed down. But there we go with a 6th place finish. Double victory for the Silent Guy, who was way
I'm still
in
gonna
front.
save
We
it on the
didn't get to
points
see
later.
much.
Man, that was
good
hey,
battles
I got
with
2
Skunkle.
clean races
Good battle with Xavier.
go.
Good battle with AZ, Arizona Racer. Good battles throughout the whole race. Dad's Taxi in the first race, had a good battle with him. We kept it clean. That was the goal of the weekend, the race weekend, and we achieved it. So super excited. All that practice paid off. So if you're ever struggling with something like crashing a lot on the first lap or that sort of thing, I recommend trying what I did, which was just load up 5-minute races against the AI, crank their aggression way up, and just keep practicing until you're getting through cleanly. And it helped me. The thing it helped the most with was just giving me an awareness of which corners had runoff that I could use, and where people were going to try to pass, because that's where the AI tried to pass as well. So just having that awareness made me prepared for the first lap chaos. So thanks for watching. Next week, Zandvoort. It's also a double sprint weekend, which is going to be followed by a endurance race at Spa the following week. So we got Zandvoort double sprints, then we got an endurance race at Spa as we start coming towards the end of the season. Thanks for watching. Peace.